want to say to me at this time?
In the blink of an eye, Sydney Powell went from straight-A student
She was an all-American kid. She was never in trouble.
to convicted murderer.
On count 1, ma'am, I sentence you to an indefinite sentence of 15 years to life in the Ohio Department of Corrections.
March 2020. Amidst the eerie silence of a world retreating into a global pandemic, in a quiet suburban home in Akron, Ohio, for 50-year-old Brenda Powell, the season of isolation became the terminal point of a sudden, unimaginable nightmare. A dedicated healthcare worker and a mother whose life revolved around the success of her children, Brenda's journey was cut short not by the rising virus or the hardships of her profession, but by the daughter she had fought so hard to support in her academic dreams.
Sydney killed her best friend, her mother.
Why?
Never once in my wildest nightmares would it have been how it played out.
Brenda's home was supposed to be a sanctuary of maternal pride, but the facade of her daughter's golden girl status was soon shattered by a horror that defied all natural laws. It wasn't a cry for help that alerted the community, but a chilling phone call from university officials that peeled back the layers of a massive deception. Behind the front doors, the suburban kitchen had become a slaughterhouse. The scene unveiled was not a simple domestic dispute. It was a macabre theater of blood and calculated witness erasure, concealing the brutal execution of a mother by her own child.
Like, she was laughing, she was having fun, she said she got jobs, and she seemed fine.
We received no communication from the university on the disciplinary actions or that Sydney was being suspended or expelled. Unfortunately, once you hit 18, they consider you an adult, whether who's paying the bills or not.
What actually happened behind those closed doors? A sudden psychological break? Or a calculated act of terrifying self-preservation? This is the disturbing story of 19-year-old Sydney Powell.
Ended.
Shock. First, it was disbelief.
That morning, Steve was trying to pay a tuition bill when he got locked out of the university's parent portal. He called the school and was shocked to learn Sydney was no longer enrolled.
So I asked them, well, how long has that been and what was that for? And they basically told me, you have to ask Sydney.
Using the family's location sharing app, Steve saw Sydney was at the house. He left work and headed home to get some answers.
We started talking about it, and I said, so what's going on? And basically, she said, all of my friends have their stuff together, but I don't. So at that point, I called Brenda, because Brenda was better at handling these things than I was.
Steve left and Brenda came home. A fateful decision. Brenda had just gotten on the phone with university officials.
Powell didn't just kill, she enacted a ritual of total erasure to silence the truth. After striking Brenda multiple times with a heavy cast iron skillet, with the sickening thuds of metal against bone recorded on a terrifying call with university staff, she didn't stop. Instead, she finished the job with a kitchen knife, stabbing Brenda nearly 30 times in the neck, targeting the very source of the voice that was about to expose her academic shame. She then immediately engaged in a cold crime scene staging, breaking a window to simulate an external intruder. This fabricated normalcy was her anchor, as she dialed her father and friends with a performance of screaming grief, attempting to normalize the macabre until her lies became her twisted reality. No one knew that life continued while Brenda lay slaughtered just feet away from Sydney's cheerleader trophies. The discovery unveiled a scene no officer would ever forget, and forensic evidence screaming the ultimate betrayal. A mother left as a sacrifice at the altar of her daughter's ego, destroyed by the very person she was supposed to protect. Sydney believed her facade was bulletproof, but as detectives began to cross-check her story against the clinical truth of the interrogation, the Golden Girl's reality started to fracture. Let's put Sydney's story on the scale of behavioral science. She attempted to construct a life based on a routine so mundane it was designed to be invisible. When her best friend Lauren asked about her daily life during the spring semester of 2020, Sydney described a perfectly normal college existence. She talked about classes, homework, and social events. This is the technique of fabricated normalcy. Sydney knew she had been dismissed in December, yet for 2 months, she continued to anchor herself in a fake reality. She woke up at the same time, drove to campus, and sat in study rooms for hours, staring at a laptop with no assignments to complete. But behavioral data does not lie. While Sydney was pretending to be an honor student, her friends noticed a chilling shift. She wasn't buying books. She wasn't actually doing the homework she claimed to be working on. She wasn't attending a university. She was inhabiting a curated lie. The study rooms and the busy schedule were merely a performance she gave herself to avoid the crushing reality of her own failure. In the interview room, the mask Sydney wore for years begins to slip as her friends recount her reaction to pressure.
She came back the same day.
Same day?
Yeah.
Did you come together?
No.
Okay.
No, she came in her own car.
And so take us through again, her name wasn't on the door,
Yeah.
and how did,
So I guess the dorm people do that?
Yeah, so the RAs do that.
Okay.
So we were like, oh, what happened? Like, maybe you should go ask the RA, because people were asking, like, why is her name on the door? I'm like, I don't know. So she was kind of hesitant to ask the RA, so that's when we were kind of just like, what's going on? Like, my sweet mate, Alyssa, and I were asking, like, oh, what's going on? And Sydney's just said that when she signed out the forms wrong, so she was meeting with residents, like, a lot in the last couple weeks to kind of figure out, like, to get her stuff back, because then when her name wasn't on the door, her dorm key, like the thing we get into the dorm building, it stopped working. And so, but then it started working again, because she went over to Res Life and they turned it back on. So I don't know what happened, really, but that's all she said.
So it wasn't, so when she got there, it didn't work, and then she went and talked to them.
Yeah, because
And then, so is this like, so the key is the outside door, and then you have to use one for the inside door?
no, so there's there's a key card, like
Mhm.
our Mount Union ID,
Mhm.
and that's when you swipe in, so like you can get into the building.
Okay.
And then there's the actual key for the room. The swiper wasn't working, the key swiper was working.
Okay.
So I think she just told us that she didn't feel like the housing form out, like this, when we had to come back, we had to fill out a form saying we're coming back. And she said she signed something off wrong.
Mhm.
So I don't know if that's true or not, but that's
Pay attention to her use of administrative justification. When Lauren and the other roommates discovered Sydney's name had been removed from the dorm door, Sydney didn't panic. She was calm and dismissive. She claimed the university messed up the forms and that she was meeting with Res Life to fix a clerical error. To her, the total collapse of her future was presented as a mere administrative inconvenience. This ability to gaslight her inner circle, people she had known for 6 years, is the hallmark of a malignant narcissistic defense. This is classic narcissistic compartmentalization. Sydney's reaction to a breakup and her academic failure was to double down on her image. She was more concerned with appearing settled like everyone else than with her actual mental well-being. When her mother, Brenda, finally became the one person who could destroy that image by answering the university's phone call, Sydney saw her not as a mother, but as a liability that had to be erased.
I mean, not bad, like I've seen her cry, but not over like me. I've seen her cry before over like just being stressed. I don't think she handled stress very well, so she cried over stuff sometimes when she got too stressed out. But other than that, not really.
and where's, how did you take the news about Dominic?
She was upset for like a while, but then she just kind of just like, it's not meant to be, that's okay, and then she broke up with him.
Where's he from?
I think more like the Cleveland area.
Mm-hmm.
They have to words back and forth, or she just kind of like dumped him on text message?
Yeah, she dumped him over text. She was like, I found out, and she gave him a little bit to see if he'd tell her, and he never did.
Mhm.
So she was like, I kind of don't like that you never told me, so I just think we should end things now, because it's not going to work out, basically, typically.
Mhm. So, yeah, you talked about her anxiety. Tell me more about that.
I think since high school, Sydney's been dealing with anxiety. Like I said, she doesn't deal with stress well, so she gets in, like, if she's stressed about something, she kind of gets a little worked up over it. She went through a period in high school, in her junior year, where she just was, like almost social anxiety. Like she didn't like to like talk to people other than like our friend group, or go out to like restaurants or stores. Like she didn't really talk to cashiers and stuff like that. We kind of helped her and pulled her out of it, and we kind of, a girl, I think, well, she went to the counselor. So like Sydney went to the counselor, kind of talked about it, and it got better after that. Like,
Sydney believed she could stage a scene that would fool the police, but she forgot about a witness that never lies: the university phone line.
people were going to the hospital, but they just didn't know what happened. The dispute happened, and then my dad was coming to give me a suitcase, and so then my dad kind of told me.
Oh, you guys were going to Florida next
Yeah.
day or that? Yeah, 'cause I remember being here that day, like the next day or something.
2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, no, it was the next day.
Yeah.
It was the next day, yeah. It was, yeah. He kind of told me what happened, that my mom passed away, and Sydney kind of was part of it.
So how did you feel about that? What were you thinking?
I was shocked, just because, like I said, Sydney and her mom were so close, and I kind of just was like, what do you mean? I think I was shocked and confused for a lot of it.
Why would a girl claiming to be a victim of a break-in hit her mother with a heavy cast iron skillet and then stab her nearly 30 times in the neck? Because subconsciously, Sydney was enacting voice silencing. Forensic reports showed the stabs were concentrated on the neck, the source of Brenda's voice. Sydney wasn't just killing her mother, she was trying to stop the voice of truth that was, at that very second, telling the university that the Golden Girl was a fraud. But the most terrifying truth lies in the staging of the crime. Forensic technicians discovered that the window Sydney claimed the intruder used was broken from the inside out. This completely changes the nature of the crime. Sydney is not a victim of a fractured mind or schizophrenia. State experts identified her as a malingerer, someone who fakes insanity to escape accountability. She killed to enact witness erasure. She would rather her mother be dead than have her mother know she was no longer a student. To Sydney, Brenda's life was an acceptable price to pay for the preservation of her own fake reputation.
On her social media page, her Instagram, because it was public. My friend told me that. I didn't go read it. But
Is it Sydney Powell?
yes. Yeah. I heard there's negative comments on her Instagram page about her, but like I said, I didn't read it. But everything I saw that people text me and stuff was just positive, saying that they're here for us and they love us, and kind of that type of situation.
You guys are like, so what are you doing now? Just online?
Yeah, no, online classes.
Are you guys back now for spring break technically? Or
So we had Monday and Tuesday off, and then yesterday started online classes, but I'm just living at home because they shut down our dorms. You can't live in the dorms anymore.
Lauren, just have a question. How did she usually, I know, like, when you were at school, you get that card and everything, but did she pay for stuff with cash, or if it wasn't her, like, university card at the university facilities, if you went out, to a restaurant or something, how would she normally pay? If you know.
Either cash, or she'd get a debit card, or one of us would pay and she'd like Venmo type. She'd Venmo, we'd Venmo. That was kind of how it was. So either cash or her debit card.
So she did have her individual debit card?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yes.
because most of the food is you guys eat off campus, or you guys are at a kitchen and you do stuff at home?
So there's a cafeteria, and then we have in our school a cafe. It's called the B&B, where you can use your dining dollars there and eat money. But if not, it was at a restaurant or at our friend's townhouse, which they had a full-size kitchen, so we cooked there.
Okay. So how you feeling about it?
I'm okay now. The first couple days where I was kind of sad and just confused and shocked, but like I said, I kind of realized that the only thing I can do is kind of tell you guys what happened and my kind of like what I know about her, and just know that I know Sydney, or knew Sydney, how she was, and that's all I can do is just support her and try to help as much as I can.
Throughout the entire trial, Sydney Powell kept up the same dramatic sobbing act she used when she faked the break-in on the morning of the murder. She cried plenty of tears, but they were all for her own ruined future, not for the mother she had just brutally killed. She was manipulative enough to try and blame everything on schizophrenia. Her legal team argued she had a psychotic break, but state experts saw right through the performance. They labeled her a malingerer, someone faking a mental illness to escape the consequences of her actions. They proved she was thinking clearly enough to break a window and coordinate a cover-up story just seconds after finishing the attack. But justice didn't let her get away with it. The sentence was clear: life in prison, ensuring that her academic secrets and her crimes will be locked away for at least 15 years. The Sidney Powell case ends as a scary reminder of what happens when someone is obsessed with their reputation. It shows that the most terrifying monster isn't a stranger in the dark, but can be the perfect daughter who would rather kill her own mother with a frying pan than admit she failed her classes. Brenda was silenced by 30 stab wounds and the blows from a cast iron skillet, but the chilling audio of her final phone call, recorded by the university Sidney was trying to hide from, became the evidence that will keep this monster behind bars for a very long time.